This piece is called Searching for My History, and it appears in the Homo Factus Press anthology Visible, a Femmethology, that will be released in spring 2009. I want a history. I want a culturally recognizable past with museums and monuments to the femmes who have come before. They deserve marble statues and polished wood plaques. There should be national holidays given in their honor, where it is expected that other femmes will sit around in groups talking of our collective history and painting our nails. I want them to be household names, to have their faces on the dollar bills I trade to retail employees for stockings and ruffled panties. I want to give these femmes of the past the world, but the only monuments I can give them are the ones I construct within my heart. Chambers filled with glitter, satin, and lace. Their photographs hung in the hallways of valves and ventricles. Each beat envelops them in the hugs my arms long to give. These living monuments becoming my foundation, the bedrock for my life. Who are we without histories? Are we only shells of people? Who are we when we can't recognize ourselves in those who have come before us? I left home at 17 and cut off all my hair. To say I left home because I'm a dyke would be accurate, although somewhat overly simplified. To say I cut off my hair because I'm a dyke could not be more accurate. I was raised by butches, ushered into adulthood to the hum of chainsaws and pickups, cared for by dykes who risked job and reputation to give me the family I'd never known. I took rusty scissors to 17 years of cascading hair and laced my boots up tight. I watched them swagger from field to barn. I wanted to be just like my mom's. Where I come from, there were no femmes. Queerness was defined by buzz cuts and flannel, and I was willing to give up myself in order to be visible. I needed the smile and nod on the sidewalk, that immediate sense of community and the ability to be recognized by others. I'd lost everything, family, home, and dreams to be queer, and I needed my people to be able to recognize my reality by the way I walked in my body through the world. I only knew the word femme as a relic of history, something that folks didn't want to be, and a way of being that wasn't quite as queer as the rest of us. I'm ashamed to say that when I met my first self-identified femme, I didn't break the trend of all my boy buddies. I gossiped about her terribly for the next few months, ridiculed her skirts, dresses, heels, and makeup. If only I could have admitted that I wanted to be just like her pink star and glitter-filled explosion. It's easy to say that I borrowed masculinity as something that happened to me, that I had no choice. Denying my own agency makes it easier to explain why I would lie to my community and a therapist to get hormones, but the choice was mine. I made the conscious decision to hide behind baggy work pants, boots, and bound breasts when all I wanted were sundresses. Once, I even bought a camisole at a local warehouse superstore. Its creamy eggshell fabric stayed crumpled in the bottom of my ragged backpack for weeks. Every day I told myself I would return it and use the money to buy something sensible. It was never worn, and yet I still couldn't bring myself to take it back. Now I show old photos of me to new friends, of myself from so many lifetimes ago. My sideburns, the effect of pushing needle into flesh, my boots planted firmly on the ladders of old boxcars, posed on train tracks, hands in pockets. I'm looking for you in the back rooms of bars and behind makeup counters. I'm always searching. I scan the faces of women on the street and subway, hold their gaze just a moment longer than necessary, trying to find something. The older I get, the more I long for a community of femmes, for femme elders who can share with me so much more than how to apply makeup. I want aunties and mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers who have done this, who have lived this life. Strong femmes that survived times when there was no name, no public space for who and what they were other than the ones they carved for themselves. Painted nails gripping, holding onto tatters of reality. I want to know where we come from. I need to know and to cherish my tradition. The great femmes of the past remind me we didn't spring fully formed from some 1980s freak of nature. Last night, we stood in the back of a theater on Bowery. my eyes welling up with tears. Around me stood butches and femmes old enough to be my mother or grandmother. I memorized their gestures, later trying them on alone in the bathroom, conjuring a history no queer studies class could ever give me. These femmes gave me the proof that there is a place for me in this world, living proof that there is a place for us as we age, that we won't simply disappear. I watched them cuddle on couches, reapply foundation, eyes twinkling. I wanted to be their friend, longed to approach them, hungry for their stories. I needed them to know that we need them now more than ever. As younger femmes, we need the lessons that only they can give. I wanted to beg them not to abandon us. I don't want to know about dresses or manicures. I want to know how to survive. I craved advice about how to master the skills needed to make it in a world that refuses to see us. Sometimes I think I can see the ghosts of my people. She stands, fists clenched, her crimson nails leaving half-moon indentations on flesh, her beloved pressed against brick, billy club to the throat. Their eyes meet. I conjure femmes the same way my Catholic grandmother calls on saints. I call on them for fortification. I call on the spirits of these femmes for strength every time a straight man looks at me on the train, when another dyke doesn't recognize me, when boys mock my seamed stockings, and when I doubt myself. Each day, as I stand before the bathroom mirror, painting my face with femme armor, I conjure them. Femme is not something I can take off at the end of the night like faded lipstick and smudged eyeliner. I fought it for many years, determined to be anything but femme. Running grows tiresome, and the self always catches up in the end. Femme is a way of life that has redecorated the chambers of my heart. In my naivety, I thought it would be different when I came out and finally stopped lying. I wanted to believe that femme was no longer so misunderstood as being not queer. There are still days when I worry that if I face the mirror, there won't be anything staring back at me. If other queers can't make out who and what I am, how long will I remain visible in my own reflection? At garage sales, I comb the piles of photographs for familiar, deviant faces. I hoard them away, their presence on desk and dresser comforting when I return home from bars and shows. After hours surrounded by people who think I'm straight, who are unable to understand what I am, their existence is the proof I need to remind myself that I'm real. Sepia, faded and smudged by fingerprints, these pictures are the most tangible connection to the history of my people. I run painted tips over their faces and bodies, secretly wishing they will pop out of the photographs and saunter to my kitchen table in those impossibly high heels and house dresses so I can serve them tea. I want to talk to them, bond with them, bring them into my family. I want to glean knowledge of how to be femme from their presence. In my imagination, I serve them soft jam cookies and cool sandwiches. They sip tea with ice that clinks against the crystal. I watch as traces of lipstick remain on the edge of glasses, but no matter how hard I wish, their bodies remain trapped on faded cardstock. I stare into their eyes, past the pores of the paper, through the photographer's now antique camera. I look for myself, my friends, my community. I conjure the femmes of the past, the everyday warriors for who daily battles to survive made a place for me.